Have you ever walked in on something you shouldn't have? My entire childhood, I used to go to Croatia for 2 months to spend summers with my grandparents. One summer, when I was 17, I was working as a camp counselor at our town's local camp, and there was this guy named Jacob who was the same age as me. We got really close, and I could tell he liked me. He constantly tried to impress me with little pranks on others, and sneaking out at night to watch the stars. So on the last day, he asked me if I'd be down to go on a week-long cruise with him and his family. I asked my grandma, she said she knew his family, and said I could go if I wanted. When I told Jacob I was down to go, and we were both ecstatic. So once I got on the boat, we were having a great time. It was me, Jacob, and his uncle who owned the boat. Jacob's sisters were also invited to go, but he said that for some reason, they each made up an excuse to stay at home instead. But he brushed it off while saying, all the better, more room for us. Everything was going great until evening time came around, and the three of us were sitting around the table drinking and eating dinner. Jacob was drinking double what I was, and I could tell he was pretty out of it. But even as I told him to slow down, he leaned in and said, I'm going to need this, while holding up his glass. I didn't understand what he meant until it was late, and I got ready for bed in my room. Then Jacob leaned in my doorway and asked quietly, hey, do you want me to swing by a bit? And I giggled nervously as I said yes. He winked at me before leaving my room. So I sat on my bed waiting for him, and after 45 minutes, I didn't understand why he wasn't coming. I got up to go look for him, but when I checked, it was dark and empty. So I walked back down, and that's when I passed the last private room on the boat, and my mind went blank. I heard grunting, and as I slowly opened the door, I saw Jacob standing behind his uncle, and they were both going at it. I was absolutely horrified. I ran to my room, disgusted at what I'd just seen, and lay down frozen in my bed. About 15 minutes later, Jacob came knocking on my door, and I was reluctant to let him in, but then I did, and as he sat down on my bed, I backed away from him. Is everything okay? He asked, and I shook my head. I should be asking you that. I saw you with your uncle, I said, and the look on his face went blank. I thought he would become defensive and angry, but instead, he started crying really hard. Then Jacob looked me in the eyes and said, it's my payment for him. He went on to explain that his uncle is extremely wealthy and has been helping their entire family with money. Everyone knew about how he takes payment, and it was just their family taboo. I couldn't help but feel horrible for him, and the next day I faked sick so we could get off the boat. But before I left to go back home to the States at the end of that summer, I gave Jacob my contact information and told him I would be more than happy to have him stay with us in America if he wanted to build a better life for himself, and less than 1 month later, I was picking him up at the airport.